So let's go over the chapter 23 homework problems. The first problem is a make or buy problem, and you can see an example of this on page 366 to 367 in our textbook. It's pretty straightforward. We're dropping in the numbers and comparing, and obviously you'll choose the option that is the lower cost. Problem 2 is a sell or process, and this is covered on pages 367 to 368. And you'll see that we've got a sunk cost that isn't relevant, what they've manufactured, the cost they've incurred up to this point, where they're trying to decide should they sell it as is or should they process it further. And we'll look at the one that's going to generate the higher income. Problem 3, similar to the seller process, is the scrap or rework. So they have some units that don't pass inspection. Should they just scrap them and just get whatever they can as scrap? Or should they spend money to fix them and then sell them at a higher price than the scrap? So you can take a look at that on page 368 in the textbook. Problem 4 is segment elimination. You'll see this on page 370 to 371. Actually, problem 4 and problem 5 are dealing with segment elimination. And so we should eliminate the segment when the avoidable costs are more than the sale. If the sales are more than the avoidable costs, then you should keep the segment, because the reason why it's operating at a loss for these ones that are operating at a loss is because of the allocated costs, the unavoidable costs. So this first problem, problem 4, is just asking you to identify those that should be eliminated because the avoidable costs are more than the sales. And then problem 5 asks, if you eliminate those ones that you identified in problem 4, what would be the increase in income? So you'll basically look at the excess of the avoidable cost, because that'll be your cost savings if you eliminate it, over the sales. Okay? And you'll do that for the segments that are going to be eliminated, and then you'll add that excess of avoidable cost over sales for all of the segments that you identified in problem 4 that should be eliminated. Problem 6 is a keep or replace. So you can look at page 371 in the textbook. And so for the keep analysis, okay, the only thing that would be you would be incurring if you keep the machine is the variable manufacturing costs. So you'll see what are the variable manufacturing costs for your current machine, and multiply it by the number of the number of years remaining in the useful life. And you should enter the cost as a negative number. Okay, so that's what you'll enter for the variable manufacturing cost over the remaining useful life. Will be in the keep column. In the replace column, it'll be the proceeds from selling the current machine. So that'll be a positive number. And then the cost would be the purchase price of the new machine. And then you would also take the variable manufacturing cost per year of the replacement machine, multiply it by the number of years that we're looking at. And again, that would be entered as a negative number. And so if replacing is going to have a lower loss, right? If the negative amount here is less than the negative amount for keeping, then that means your income will increase if we replace it. And so you'll do it for 2 different machines. So the keep will be the same in both A and B, but then you'll have different numbers for the replace because it's 2 different machines. And so in requirement C, you should keep or replace. Should it keep or replace the old machine? And so if we end up with an increase in income from either one or both, then definitely we want to replace the machine. And if we have decided we should replace the machine, we will replace it with the machine that provided the higher income. So you'll compare that. And then finally, 7, time and materials. So page 376 is an example of the time and materials. So for the quiz, you need to understand these problems, as well as there's one problem that you did not have. You should review the sales mix when resources are constrained. So review that in the textbook, as well as you can review the demonstration videos on Blackboard.